Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy, what is today? Tuesday. Oh my gosh, this month is flying by for me. It's just been a hectic month with renovations upstairs in my kitchen, the first floor, and then we had a tornado go through our town last night. Oh man, it was something I gotta tell you guys. It was definitely something that I was not expecting to have happen. So basically what happened last night was right around this time, 9:15, 9:30 or something like that. I was upstairs in my office working on getting the spreadsheets ready for the video that I was going to do last night, right? And we had a tornado watch in effect for the area. I thought, okay, we've had those before, not a big deal. It's going to go by, nothing's going to happen here. So I'm working away. I'm looking out the window, and I see stuff starting to swirl around and things starting to fly in the air. I'm like, okay. I get a notification on my phone. It says tornado warning in your town. Okay, that's when I start running downstairs, grab the dog, grab my phone, and we go into the basement, hide out there. Within a minute, the power goes out. So luckily, not much damage to my house. Very little, if anything. We had some shingles down. We got some hail damage on it as well. That's about it. So the insurance is going to cover the repairs there. Some of the houses down the street from me, about 2 blocks down, got a little bit more damage. A lot of trees were down, things like that. So it seems like the tornado just kind of started in basically my neighborhood on my street and then just continued going east. So overall, wasn't bad. It was like a maybe F0, F1 tornado, I think, in the scale that they call it. I don't even think it was an F1. I think it was like an F0 potentially. Smallest one that you can possibly think of. But it did still create some damage. My neighbor's trampoline went flying about a half a mile or so down the road. It ended up in another place. So definitely an interesting time at least in my area right now. But what do we have to go on today? We have Bitcoin miners going up in value. We have Bitcoin going up in value, which is great. We also have IREN working with Morgan Stanley. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'll get into the miners that are being shorted right now. We'll get into your guys' Q&A and stuff like that. And then we'll call it a day. So it should be pretty easy here. So let's get into it here. As always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice for entertainment only. And then you guys also know my full disclosure there. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Let's take a look at what's going on with the Bitcoin charts. We'll look at something like the network hash rate, other things as well. So here's the first one at bat, network hash rate for Bitcoin. It is increasing a little bit here right now. On the 7-day average, we are at 595 exahash. On the 30-day, it is going up also a little bit as well. We are at 582 exahash. Okay. Then when we look at the transaction fees here recently, those are still pretty low, about, 12.3 as of yesterday, or actually this is today, Tuesday. So we have the latest data on that, 12.3, pretty low, right? We want those to be a little bit higher for the miners. And then we got the hash price index here on petahash per day, what miners are making at 52. That has come up with Bitcoin price going up, which is nice to see. And then also the network hash rate being a little bit lower, that helps that out also. As far as Bitcoin is concerned here, Bitcoin has had a nice run here in the last couple of days. We are, let's see if I can zoom this in properly. I mean, we've had a nice rally here in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days or so, right? So starting basically, when was this? Like Friday, I guess it would be, that we had this start of this little rally here. It was Friday. Bitcoin had a great day here on Monday. It was up, 6.49%, right? We didn't talk about it yesterday because I was not able to. Power went out. And then today it was actually down a bit, but then it kind of had a nice rebound here. You can see this nice hammer shape on the chart. And today we are also going up in value. So those are all good signs here. We had quite a few miners go up really well also yesterday, right? Cypher was up huge yesterday. It was up huge again today. Don't know why. There wasn't anything that was really a catalyst to drive it, other than maybe a rotation into some of these stocks, possibly, because we're seeing it also with like CleanSpark and others as well. A Marathon, they're getting a nice rotation in as well, along with Riot. But here's what we got. So today, Annie was up 10%, Argo was up 24%. Argo, I don't know what's going on there with them. They've had a nice rally here as well, right? Argo is one of those companies that I think may not survive this much longer. Maybe another, well, I don't even know if they're going to survive another year. They're just operating what they have with the current infrastructure, which they don't have anything now. They're hosting pretty much everything. And they haven't bought any new machines. They're still running on older machines. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. BitDigital was up slightly today, just 0.95%. BitDeer was actually down today, 2.61%. Bitfarms was up nicely again today. was 7.22%. Cypher was up 13.38. Since yesterday, it was up basically like 44% in those 2 days. So a huge run up here for Cypher. Cleanspark was up 8% again today. CORZ was up 6%. Digihost up 3%. DMG 3%. Hive 5%. Hut 8 4%. IREN was up just a little bit here, 2.88%. Marathon was up 8.71. Had a nice day yesterday as well. Was up 18.34% yesterday. So it had a really good day yesterday. Mawson was up 9.21%. Riot was up 10.63%. Had a good day yesterday also. Was up 17.8% yesterday. Let's see, Stronghold was up today nicely, 16.2%. And then Wolf was up 6.33% as well. And it was up yesterday as well, 12.99%. So yesterday was a really good day for the miners. So we'll see where it goes. Bitcoin, on the other hand here, if we look at it on the daily, we can see that the RSI is right now at about roughly 63. Last time we were back here was over here. This was back on Wednesday, the 5th of June. And price was at that point was higher. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we can see that the RSI is now a little bit overbought. So it's 73 here. Last time we were here was way back here, roughly. Price at that point was actually lower. So this is starting to get a reversal in the pattern here a little bit on the 4-hour chart. You can see that also on the 1-hour chart where the RSI is at 68. Last time we were back here, price was lower. So that's a good sign there that eventually I think the daily chart will also do the same thing. But I also think that eventually we may need a little bit of a pullback for a more healthy rally going forward. And I'm talking about maybe like a 5% to a 7% drop in Bitcoin, excuse me, like a day or two, and then we continue going back up. Okay, so that's it there. Let's take a look at the stories that we do have here, which is on IREN. So IREN appoints Morgan Stanley as financial advisors. Okay, I thought it was kind of interesting. Are they looking to sell themselves? Are they looking to buy? Nope, it's actually for the AI space. So the company is pleased to announce that it has appointed Morgan Stanley & Company, LLC, as financial advisor in connection with evaluating monetization opportunities in the AI data center market. Okay. So I own IREN shares, right? I'm a big bull on IREN for their self-mining and for the possibility that they might have with HPC AI. Given that, it's like, why do you need Morgan Stanley to tell you how you can make money with HPC AI? You have customers. You need customers. The customers will tell you what you need to do. Why you would basically pay somebody, Morgan Stanley, to tell you what to do when you really already should know what to do. Your customers will tell you what they need, right? So if the customer comes in and says, I need a tier 3 data center because I need inference, I need this, that, or whatever it might be, this is what you would have to do that, right? Or if you have a customer that just wants to run the HPC side of things, the H100s or whatever you have as far as GPUs in there, they just want to do a large language model training for a set amount of months, you know what you got to do there. So I'm a little surprised by this. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm starting to think it might be, I don't know if it's needed. Basically what I'm trying to say here, but that's just kind of my thought on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Morgan Stanley has some opportunities with customers that they're dealing with also that are looking for HPC AI. They can maybe put the two dots together, right? Maybe. I'm not sure. But that's it. An IREN here. And let's get into the short report here. This is the latest information that I have as of basically today and yesterday, because I was working on this yesterday as well before the power went out. But I look at, so down here, I'll show you guys what I'm doing. I'm looking at the historical short data, which is provided by Webull information here on each stock, and basically comes out every like 15 days or so. So you can see here on this, these are the dates that they have reported here. We don't have the latest ones for July yet. We have the latest one was 628 or 630 for some of these guys, somewhere in there. And then we're looking back a couple weeks to see where it has compared to. I'm also looking at the float being reported by like Yahoo Finance, FinViz, and the Wall Street Journal. They all vary, sometimes quite a bit here, which is surprising. Why the float is just all over the place on all of these websites here. But so I'm using the average for the float based on what all of these guys have reported. So we kind of get an average more or less, right? It's not 100% dead on, spot on this information here. If only there was a system that you could use to track all the float that's out there. But gosh, I know it's a tough thing to do in this technological day and age. But it is what it is. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And then we're looking at, excuse me, what the previous float was. Last time we checked, the current float or the current number of shares being shorted, and then what the percentage of float is of that. Percentage of shares shorted, value amount of shares shorted compared to also market cap. So we'll look at all that data here. All right. So going up here, current number of shares shorted. Marathon takes the cake. It has 70.4 million shares shorted for them. Riot at 61. Cleanspark at 36 million. CORZ at 32. CORZ has gone up tremendously here in the last 12 weeks or so with the amount of number of shares being shorted with them. TerraWolf at 32.7. Bitfarms 24.4. BitDigital at 22.8. Cypher 22, Hut with only 8.4, IREN at 6, Hive at 5.4, and BitDeer at 2.7 million shares. Okay, percentage of average float shorted. CORZ is now the most shorted company here based on the average number of shares floated. 33%, followed by Riot, Marathon, Cypher, BitDigital, and you can see how everybody else stacks up here. Hive is the least shorted here. Now, when we look at share shorted value versus market cap. So the market cap is the blue numbers here, blue lines or blue chart. The yellow is the share shorted value, right? So we're basically taking the number of shares being shorted times the stock price, and that's where we're getting the share shorted value here. You can see the Marathon is getting shorted the most here, basically $2.2 billion in short interest on them. Cleanspark about 890 million, Riot at 1 billion roughly. IREN at 164 million, TerraWolf 367, CORZ 692 million, Cypher 449, Hut 8 at 194, BitDeer 154, Bitfarms 101 million, BitDigital 112, and Hive at 24. So Hive is like the least shorted here, and that's mainly because I think they haven't had a huge run up here in the last, I would say maybe several months here compared to some of the other miners that have done that. Okay. Now, when we look at the number of shares shorted change from last time, CORZ had an increase of 24 million shares here from last time we checked it, which was probably about 6 weeks ago, I guess, based on the data that I had at the time. And then we have Riot increased by 16.2 million shares, Marathon increased by 11.1, followed by TerraWolf at 6 million, followed by CORZ, or Cypher, at 5.6, then Cleanspark and everybody else down the list here going that way. And then here's the price change percentage from 12 weeks ago on all these miners here. BitDigital is up the most, it looks like. From 12 weeks ago, it's up 44%, which I don't know if that's right. I have to look into that because I would think that like TerraWolf would be up higher along with Hut 8, but BitDigital has done pretty well here in the last couple of weeks. So maybe it is the case. Okay, but that's kind of the way things shape up there. And then here's the individual miners out of them all. Let me see if I can go back to the beginning. You can see how the shares being shorted has changed over time. So this is BitDeer. You guys can pause this if you're watching this as a replay, or you can take a screenshot and view it. Here's BitDigital, how that has played out over the time. Then you got Bitfarms, Cypher, Cleanspark. You can see Cleanspark has continued to increase quite, I wouldn't say nicely, but I guess to its disadvantage. CORZ, I mean, look at this huge increase here from where it was. Hive as well has been kind of flat, a little bump here back in end of 2023 actually. And then we get Hut 8 here. This was before the merger. This is after the merger here. It's been pretty flat, coming down actually. Then you got IREN here, increasing a little bit there. Marathon, definitely a roller coaster ride with them. And then you got Riot. Riot had a huge increase here recently as well. And the data is from 4:30. Why do I have the data from 4:30? Did I forget to update this? I did. Okay, let's do that. It should be over here. That's what we should be looking at. But yeah, so you can see Riot here. Let's go back to the other ones. You guys can see that really quick. Sorry about that. Made a mistake there. So here's BitDeer, BitDigital, Bitfarms, Cypher, Cleanspark, CORZ, right? Huge increase, like I said. Hive as well has been coming down. Hut 8 before the merger, after the merger. Pretty flat there. IREN has been also coming up here. I mean, they had a huge change here from 2.8 million in 531 to 7.8 million shares. It's down a little bit here. Marathon, right? It's the most shorted here right now since we've been keeping track of them. Then you got Riot, also the most shorted here since we've been tracking them at 61.7 million. And then TerraWolf coming back down a little bit. So that's the way those have all played out. And then take a look at this. This is Core is up 12 weeks ago. It was at 7.4 million shares being shorted. Now it's at 32. So that's a 345% increase. So that's the number one increase here in the last 12 weeks. IREN up 195%, followed by Riot 98%, Marathon 64, Cypher 58, Cleanspark 40, and then you can see everybody else here down the list here. It looks like TeraWolf is actually down 17% from where it was 12 weeks ago, being shorted. So kind of interesting to take a look at those numbers. But yeah, IREN, like I said, IREN had a huge short interest here, so it kind of made sense that one Culper, I think it's Culper report or something like that, came out with a short report on them. IREN's had a huge run up here as well in the last couple, what has it been, probably 2-3 months or so. So I understand why they went out and did the report on them. They wanted to bring it down. Okay, maybe we got a little bit overheated. Next one probably would be Core, but Core is a tough one. Core has a pretty good customer going forward with a lot of revenue. I don't know if there's going to be a short report coming out on them anytime soon. But we'll see. Yep, that is it. All right, let's get into you guys' Q&A side of things here. And as always, my little sales pitch as well. If you guys want access to all these spreadsheets and all this data, it's $8 a month for Patreon. The link for that is in the description down below on all my videos. And you get access to the spreadsheets, access to the Discord, and there might be some tiers open at $5 range, $4 as well. If you can find those, definitely jump on those because you do get quite a nice discount there. And also, if you pay for the annual subscription, you get 10% off that way. All right, that is it. That's my sales pitch. Let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things, see what's happening here with all you guys. Hopefully, you guys have had a better couple of days than I did in the last week or so. But let's see here. What do we got? Let's see if we can see what's happening here. Okay. I'm trying to find a couple of questions. Let's see. Okay, question. First question is from Victor C. Question, is IREN undervalued at the moment? Let's take a look at IREN on my spreadsheet here really quick. Let me pull that up and I'll show it to you guys on the screen here. Okay, there's IREN. There's my screen for you guys. Okay, it is at $12.34 right now. I have them between $9.92 to $14.87. I think they're right in the middle there, basically. I think they're pretty fairly valued now. They were a little overvalued, or getting close to being overvalued, just a couple of days ago, right before we had the Culper report come out. At that point, let's see here, IREN was down here. They were, let's see, that's on the 1 hour chart. They were at 1575. So they were overvalued at that point, based on my numbers at least. You can see here, they were at 1575. Based on my numbers, that would have put them at the overvalued portion at that time. So I think now they're more fairly valued at this point. All right, but as long as they can continue to grow their hash rate, and if they come up with a customer that has pretty good for HPC AI, we could see things going up much higher, along with Bitcoin going up. We could see the stock going up much higher from there. Okay. Okay. So we got any other questions? Hey Seb, I hope all is well. Can you please take a look at the CME gap on BTC futures chart and give your opinion? I think there might be an upcoming buying opportunity on Bitfarms before the big run. Well, you're talking about BTC and then you're talking about Bitfarms there. Yeah, there is a gap on the CME futures for Bitcoin here. Let's go back to this one here. So here's that gap here. Here's that gap. It is between, it's basically between, depending where you want to track it, whether it's the top of the candle or the where it actually closed. Closed at 57,860, and then we get a gap at 60,910. Historically, the CME futures gaps get filled for the most part. They don't always get filled, but a majority of them do get filled. So we may have a dip down, or at least a wick down before we go up. If we don't fill this, we will fill this later on, coming down as maybe we get into a bear market or something like that. But yeah, historically, if you look at it, let me see if we can find a gap here. You got one gap here, right? It got filled and then it went up. So we may have that happen again. Where else do we have a gap here that I can see easily here while we're going up? We've had other gaps as well. We had a gap here, right? That one didn't really fill. we had a gap here, so that kind of filled it, and we went back up, so that kind of null and voids that gap here. What else do we have here? And there were a couple of gaps that we had, and they did get filled. See, there was a gap there, and that was when we were coming back down from 60,000. So those are a little bit harder to, I mean, eventually they will get filled. If they're going down in price in Bitcoin, they will get filled on the time when we go up. Sometimes it takes time. But yeah, not always do the gaps get filled, but majority of the time they do. Okay. If that happens, if we do go back down to around like the 58,000 mark or something like that, that would be a buying opportunity, because at that point I think we might have a similar instance like we had back here, where we filled the gap and then we went up, right? We filled the gap over here. We were going up, came back, filled it, and then we had a nice rally going up here. So that would be a time to possibly buy in more if you do get that chance. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Greetings from Germany. How you doing? Thank you for coming in. What do you think about the end rally 2024? So you're saying that the Bitcoin rally might end at the end of this year. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think we may see some selling action on the institution side of things. Investment firms, things like that, they might be taking profits if they're invested in Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners or something like that. We might see, at the end of December, some of those guys taking profits and putting it on their balance sheet at that point, but we'll see. Sorry, let's see here. Missed that one. So, Seb, do you think it's this time BTC stalls again at above 70 range or blast past 73 violently? Oh gosh, I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball for that one. I really don't know. I mean, looking at the chart, I think we need a little bit of a pullback here recently. We've had a nice rally here for the last 5 days. We need maybe a little bit of a pullback, 5-7%, I would think. That should do it, and then we can possibly go back up higher from that. We might also retest the gap on the CME futures, right? So I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes out. Let's see. Next question. Why is the price of IREN not moving up? Do you think it will start moving up soon? Well, I think it's 2 reasons. One, it's had a huge rally. It's come back down because of the short report on it. And I think it was needed a little bit of pullback on it because it just went up too much. I think eventually it will go running again. I don't know when that's going to happen. If you're looking for a longer term investment, we're looking at 12 to like 18 months potentially. Any dips that you might find in IREN or in any of these other stocks here that are going to be doing really well is a buying opportunity, in my opinion. But where will it go going forward? We could have a rotation happening where we're thinking it kind of right now in Cypher, Cleanspark, Marathon, Riot. We're getting a rotation from some of the other miners into those miners as well. We may see that again with IREN in a couple weeks, potentially. Maybe it doesn't take that long. I don't know. Let's see. Seb, when would you want to rotate into Riot, if at all? If I had the cash, right, I would probably rotate into IREN if I see much better operational uptime from them at Corsicana and at Rockdale. If they can do those things and continue to grow like they're planning to grow this year, at that point, I would be more inclined to invest in Riot. Let's see, programmer asks, now that Wolf paid off their debt, do you have any plans to DCA some shares? No, and the only reason for that is their growth. Their growth right now is limited for this year. If they came out and said they're going to be increasing their hash rate for this year by another 5-10 exahash or something like that, okay, that would be a bullish sign to me at that point. But right now, no. I see other miners that are growing much faster than they are, and I think those will be the lead horses going into the bull run potentially. Let's see. David says, personally, I think the lows on the miners for the years are over. Probably not going to see Riot under 9, Bitfarms under 2, Wolf under 2, etc. The rest of this bull run. Yeah, that might be the case. I would probably agree with you there. We may still see a little bit dip in from time to time, but I don't know if we're going to go back down to lows as like you said here. So I think we might be at the bottom here before the next parabolic run up. What is it? Oh, excuse me. What is the total number of shares for Bitfarms? I see many different numbers out there. So based on what Riot provided as far as owning in Bitfarms, right, at that time. Bitfarms right now, I have them at, based on my numbers here, was at 411 million shares, roughly. And there's an addition to what they reported at the end of Q1, which they reported here, 356 million shares. So there's been some dilution there from that point. Going through the ATM, I'm guessing. But that's kind of what I'm using for Bitfarms right now. It's that, and that have them at 1.2 billion market cap right now. I should probably make this a little bit easier to read. That. Right, there we go. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm seeing things at. Let's see here. Hi, Sebastian. Recently found your channel. Subscribed immediately. Great info. I have made some great gains listening to your channel. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and thanks for joining. Let's see. Question: do you think buying CORZ at this level is okay? Do you see it getting into the 20s? I do think it could go into the 20s with the bull run with Bitcoin. We will have some dilution in this number of shares once the warrants get exercised. I don't even know when the warrants. Do you guys know when the warrants are going to get exercised? And then I've been hearing that they're supposed to be getting exercised here, like within the last couple of days, but I'm not seeing anything on it. I've been helping my dad check on his trading platform to see if those warrants were exercised and switched over to the regular shares. We're not seeing anything. But so there's going to be dilution there. At that point, they do have really good growth going into next year with the HPCI, with CoreWeave. Yeah, I think Bitcoin goes up. I think, yeah, we'll be close to 20s, if not higher than that. What do you think the Bitfarms price will be at the end of 2024? Depends where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin goes 200,000 maybe. That's roughly, what is it going to be, like 40-some percent, 50% from where we are right now. I could see Bitfarms being closer to like $4, $5 maybe at that point. Let's see. A lot of experts saying we going to 90,000 this year or in just a bull peak. I think that we can love for that. For 90,000 this year, I could see that, right? It's not too far off. Yeah. Let's see here. If end of year BTC reaches 105, what is the price target you see potentially for Wolf, Riot, and Mara? Well, it would be basically, I mean, that's roughly a 50% increase from where we are right now. So I would say at least a 2x potentially from where the miners are right now, roughly, at the very minimum. Question: where do you see Wolf going in the near future? The price seems to be correlating better with BTC. I think with Wolf, let me pull it up here. We'll take a look at the chart here really quick. But with Wolf, I think it's getting a little overheated here. I mean, look at this rally that it's had up here. It's at 638. I think we're gonna have a little pullback here, a little bit. RSI is overbought right now on the daily, right? But that doesn't mean that it can't go up higher still for a little bit before we have a little pullback. Let's take a look at the weekly here on the longer time frame. Yeah, I mean the weekly is also pretty high, so I would expect it to come back down a little bit. Where would it come down to? Yeah, geez. I'm saying somewhere around here, maybe back down to like the 450 range here, something like that. Maybe something like that. Or it might bounce. We had to come, last time we were up pretty high. We came pretty close to 450. So maybe not that. We probably might go down to like $5. But yeah, we're going to need a little bit of a pullback for a healthy rally in Wolf. It's just getting a little overheated here right now. Okay. What do you think the best buy is in miners currently? Mawson versus Digihost, possibly. To be honest, I thought Mawson was going to be on the chopping block after the halving event. I have not seen anything from them as far as buying their own ASIC miners to increase their hash rate efficiencies and things like that. They are also going more towards the hosting solution as being a hosting provider for others. So I don't know. That's a tough one for me. Like I said, Mawson I thought was going to be on the chopping block. Digihost has growth. They also host a little bit, but they're also pretty small, right? Kind of like Mawson is too, with their own self-mining. So they're both pretty small in that regard. But I think, I think Digihost might do a little bit better, maybe, on that. Let's see. Caroline says, missed your vid on IREN news. What's your take on the Morgan Stanley deal? Yeah, I'm a little confused by that. Like I said when I talked about it, why would IREN need somebody to help them figure out a way to monetize HPC AI? I mean, you either get the customers, and the customers will tell you what they need, right? So either you can meet those requirements of the customers, or you can't, and you can't get it. Why would the only thing I could see them getting with Morgan Stanley is maybe for contacts, getting information about companies that are in HPC AI that are looking for HPC AI companies. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of. I'm not sure, but maybe we'll be surprised by it. We'll see. Question: will Trump presidency only favor American miners? Well, possibly. I don't know. It's a tough one. Trump has said that he wants all the rest of the Bitcoin mine to be by America. That's never going to be happening because you have so many other countries that are mining Bitcoin as well. Let's see here. If you have a mixture of good miners, if we hit, say, 140,000 as the cycle top for Bitcoin, how many X's do you think we get on the good miners? On the good miners, you're looking at basically a 2X in Bitcoin from where it's at right now. So at that point, you're looking at like somewhere between 4 to 6X on the miners. If that does happen, that's kind of what I would be looking for. Okay, let's see. Okay, Angel, I see what you're saying. Okay, misspelling there a little bit. Okay, but Angel asks, do you think Trump having an assassination attempt on him basically affected the market for Bitcoin? Some are saying it mainly because it improves his chances of possibly getting the presidency again, which could be the case, right? If that's the case, then is it bullish for Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners? Yeah, I think it is. So I think there is some truth to that, I think maybe. Let's see. Okay, Carolina says, all warrants have triggered. My broker said they're waiting on instructions from the DTCC, though. Okay. All right, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, we're checking like every single day. So we're talking about CORZ here with their warrants, right? Did those get exercised? And they did. Okay. So thank you for sharing that. So we'll keep an eye on it, see what happens there, because we were just surprised that it hasn't anything happened on the CORZ WZ warrants, CORZ WZZ warrants. We were still seeing the same amount, and we would have thought that they would have been triggered and something would have happened with those. Let's see. High sub is Marathon, overvalued right now after the run-up. Thanks. Okay, well, let's take a look at it. Let's see, pull up my sheet here. Marathon, we'll go over here. Okay. So Marathon, I think, is getting close to being overvalued. I have them at $27.99. They're at $26.72. So I think they're on the higher end of being fairly valued. They haven't gone above that yet. So I think there's still a little bit more room to run. Also, if they come out with good numbers for July, that they increase more hash rate or whatnot, right? They could also increase the stock price going forward. Bitcoin goes up, that could also increase it going forward as well, right? Investors are forward looking. That could change things. But yeah, it's had a nice rotation here back into favor, kind of like some of the other ones. Because Marathon, Cleanspark, Riot, who else was kind of underperforming here for the last couple of weeks, while others were actually running up, right? So it's kind of nice to see that happening back into them. Okay. Okay. Hey, so when you give your estimate on stock price, do you still see Bitfarms at $10? And if yes, what if they go AI route as well? Yeah, I mean, I think still $10 is doable for this bull run. I mean, that's on the lower end of things where I think they could go. AI, how would that change it? I guess it would depend on the contract that they get and how soon they could possibly, if they need to, retrofit the facilities to do the HPC AI play. So that would also depend on that. But right now, we just got to get past Riot, trying to buy them out. I think that is really the only overhang that we have right now. We have Ben Gagnon in there as CEO, which I think he's going to do really great. We have a new board member with Fannie Phillip in there. I think she's wonderful as well. She's a great get for them. So we need to get past Riot. Once we get past Riot, I think maybe at that point the stock will even do better than we expect. Let's see here. If all the miners reach their target growth by end of 2025 and BTC price stays at 65,000, what is the impact on miners' valuation? Would they be considered overvalued? Oh, yeah. At that point, if Bitcoin stays at this point, it's not going to be good for the miners. I mean, the ones that are getting more efficient miners will do good. So Marathon, Cleanspark, Riot, all the top miners, right? For the most part. The impact would be huge on like the private miners that have older fleets that are expecting Bitcoin to go up to 100,000, 150,000, whatever it might be in the next 12 months or so. They're going to be in a world of hurt. So at that point, that would lower the network hash rate, which would lower difficulty, which would then make the miners that are still mining more profitable. But even then, with being only at 65,000, it would still be really tough for the miners. Yeah, I just don't see that happening, though, to be honest. Jeff says, great interview with Cleanspark, new CEO. You mean Bitfarms' new CEO. Thanks so much. Because I was not aware Cleanspark got a new CEO. But yeah, thank you. That was fun. Ben Gagnon came on Friday with me, and we had a bunch of other speakers on there. We had, was it D.R. Lewis, I think, on there as well. We had other people come on. We had, I think it was Gary Cardone come on, ask questions. That was a great space. So that was really fun. And Ben did a great job, I thought, answering everybody's questions. Let's see. Legend, thanks, Seb. Missed you the last couple of months. Not sure what that means, but thank you. Let's see. Roger says, Mt. Gox dump next down to 45,000 BTC. I hope that's not the case, to be honest. And I've heard people saying that Mt. Gox might not be as bad as Germany dumping all the Bitcoin, right, on the market, because a lot of the stuff that's going to be going into from Mt. Gox is going to be going into, well, it's going to be laid out in over time. It's not going to be happening in like a week or something like that. It's going to happen over multiple weeks where that gets transferred over to the people there. So it may not be as bad of a shot to Bitcoin. Let's see. Did you notice BTC shot up right after the assassination attempt on President Trump? Why do you think that happened? Could be coincidence. Like I said, it could be also that people are thinking that, he survived. That's going to give him maybe a little bit more gravitas with voters and a potentially higher percentage or higher chance of him potentially getting that presidency again. I think maybe that's why. He's bullish on Bitcoin, and I think that's maybe why. Let's see. Once CORZ shares dilute, do you think we will see a pullback? I don't know. I think it's kind of being priced in right now. I think everybody is kind of pretty well aware that we're going to have like 400 million shares after all the dilution happens. And I think that's why the stock is kind of hovering right around the $10 range, because I think the stock should be, if you look at it on my sheet here really quick, I'll point this out to you guys here. This does not take into account the HBCI play that they have, but I have them at $19.22 to $28.83 before the dilution, right? So if they dilute by 100%, divide this by basically 50% or something like that, and you get, what is it going to be, $8 and something, $8.60 for the low end, right? And then the high end, we would have them at approximately $14. They're $11.70 right now, right? So I think they're kind of being fairly valued right now based on the simple fact that we will see dilution happening here relatively quickly, I think, on it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I could be wrong on this, but time will tell. Let's see. Humble Servant says, just need Bitfarms to start pumping. It's going up there. It's doing pretty good, I think. Let's see here. Thanks for the info, Seb. You're very welcome. Question, hello, Seb. What do you think of IREN at current prices? Is it on a fair value? Yeah, it's right now, I think it's fairly valued right now. It was a little bit overvalued. That's why we need a little comeback or pullback on it. And I think that's why the culprit report was perfectly timed by them. The stock was just a little overvalued, and they saw that, and it definitely came back down. Let's see. David says, BTC is pretty much following the 2016, 2017 rally so far, more or less. Pretty sure I'd sell way before Q4 2025 if BTC keeps following the 2016 cycle, gonna be nuts if BTC is 150,000 in Q1 2024. You mean Q1 2025? Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Let's see. Question: any miner still undervalued? Thanks. I do. Yeah. Well, we can take a look at it really quick here. Let me pull up my sheet again. Go there, do this, and then we'll just go through really quick. I think BitYear is undervalued right now, based on where it's at. BitDigital is fairly valued right now on the lower end side of things. Bitfarms, I believe, is undervalued. Yeah, Bitfarms should be at least another $1 or something higher, if not $2 from where it's at. Cypher is pretty fairly valued from what I'm seeing here. Cleanspark, fairly valued. Core Scientific, take into consideration the share dilution, we're looking at pretty fairly valued. Hive is pretty fair valued. It's had a nice run up here recently, so that one's come up here. But in the past, it was a little bit undervalued. Hut 8 is a tough one for me. I don't have a lot of data on them. That's good ever since the merger there, so don't look at those numbers there. IREN is pretty fairly valued. Marathon, pretty fairly valued as well. Riot is now looking a little overvalued at 1270 right now. I'm at 1222 on the higher end, so they're looking a little bit, and that's based on their performance in the past. But if their operations improve going forward, then they could definitely catch a higher value here. Okay, TeraWulf looks pretty overvalued right now as well. So I would expect maybe TeraWulf to come back down a little bit into reality in the next couple days to a week or so. That's kind of what we're looking at. Okay. Let's see. John, holy cow. Thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see. What do you think about the IREN announcement about Morgan Stanley? Talked about that earlier. If you get a chance, go ahead and take a rewatch of the video. You'll see it then. I talked about it twice in the beginning, and then also somebody else asked a question about it as well. But it seems a little strange to me. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe it might come some good from it. John says, thank you for your great work and dedication. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. And most of Mt. Gox's claims were bought a long time ago. I'd guess that less than 25% are going to sell once it's been distributed. Yeah, I mean, you might be right there. Yeah, I mean, Mt. Gox was back from, gosh, when was that? 2014, 2015 time frame? I'm trying to remember. I read about it, but I just can't remember the date. Let's see. When are we past Riot? Is that October meeting? No. We first have to go through the tribunal that they're going through here in July 21st, 23rd, I think, in Canada to see if they can stop Bitfarms from having the 15% as the trigger for the poison pill, right? If they get the tribunal to side on their side, then they can buy more shares. It makes it tougher, I think, at that point for Bitfarms to combat, but they can still combat it somehow. And then, yeah, we do have the special meeting in October as well. Let's see. Decentralized Dad says, thanks for your opinions. It helped me a lot, amigo. Well, you're very welcome. Appreciate it. Right, now look at the data. So it's all data-driven for me. It's not emotions. It's nothing else. It's just data-driven. The data tells me what I see, right? And I interpret the data as best as I can. What do you think Riot is... and do you think Riot is flying because their representative talked to Trump? Well, they talked to Trump. This was back going now, 4 weeks ago, and the stock didn't do well then, unless they spoke with him recently, which I haven't seen anything on it, but I could have missed it. But I don't think that's the reason why. I said, what's a good entry for IREN? IREN, I think right now, gosh, I would say it's definitely I mean, if you could have gotten around $11, you would have been doing pretty good here. Let's take a look at it here. This was back here, right? This was on Thursday of last week. If you could have gotten in and dollar cost averaged in down here, that would have been a great entry at that point. I think right now, dollar cost averaging as best you can. RSI is looking pretty good here on the daily. It may continue to run up here a little bit, or it may just chop sideways a little bit. We'll see. And that one, but just I would think dollar cost averaging, I think it has still really, really good potential going forward. we could still see at least like a 5 to 6x on this thing if Bitcoin goes to 150,000 or north of that. So that's kind of where I'm looking at on that one. Okay. Let's see. Saw that BTC Mining Guy, Freedom by 40, and DR Lewis have all bought Bitfarms the last couple of days. Yep. Yeah, they have. Right. I've been talking about Bitfarms being undervalued for what they should be valued for a long time. I've been buying as much as I can also. Just not recently. Recently, been a little cash tight. Hoping I can buy more in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. Thoughts on Cypher 50% price increase in 2 days. Where did you see Cypher end of 2024? Cypher, to be honest, I'm a little surprised by this. Maybe it's a little rotation happening from the other miners as well. I'm not sure what's really causing that rally there. Yeah, it's like up 44, 50%. If we look at it here, let's go back to my screen. Let's see, Cypher. I mean, they had a huge run up here from basically the bottom of $2.15. It's up, excuse me, it is up huge. From here, let's go from here all the way up to here. It's up 216%. And you can see on the daily, it's looking pretty overheated right now. Let's take a look at the weekly as well. And it's getting close to being overheated, so it might still run up a little bit here more. We could get to like $8 before it actually starts going back down. Now, where do I see it by the end of the year? Oh gosh, I don't know. I know they're supposed to get to like 13 exahash by the end of the year. So not a lot of growth there going forward. Some growth, but it's still pretty good for them. But they're not keeping up with the other miners like Cleanspark, Riot, Bitfarms, Marathon, IREN, all those guys. So a lot of the growth is in 2025 that we're going to see with them with the Black Pearl site. I don't know where they're going to be at the end of the year. I think they're getting a little overheated here right now. I think they need a little pullback. If we do that, if they go back down to like in the $5 range or $4 range at that point, I think we could still see at least them possibly getting by the end of the year. If Bitcoin goes to 2x, we could see them being at like maybe $10 to $15 somewhere around there. I'm guessing, but that's Bitcoin going to at least 100,000 plus a little bit. Q&A again. Okay. Let's talk about Wolf. What's the near target? The near target for Wolf? Geez. I don't know what the near target is going to be. That's always tough to figure out. Wolf has had a pretty nice run up here also. If we look at it, I mean, look at this. It's gone way, way, way up. It's also done like Cypher here. So near term, I would expect a little bit of a pullback. I mean, it's looking a little overheated here for quite a few weeks here now on the RSI. So we had 1 week that we were down. I mean, we were down to back to 4. Now we're back up. On the daily, we are also not too bad on the RSI. It's at 73. Price continues to go up while the RSI was actually, I mean, we could go up a little bit more before we have a little bit of a correction like we had here. So I'm not sure what's going to go in the short term. Maybe a little bit up and then possibly down. That's kind of what I would see happening. Unless Bitcoin continues to go up, then they may just follow suit a little bit. But we may still see some rotation happening from them into other stocks as people have had huge run-ups here in TeraWolf recently. Okay. Let's see. Already covered this question here. Let's see here. Trump is now pro-Bitcoin. Yep. Which before he wasn't. He was all about the dollar. So is the GOP and the VIP pick? Yeah. JD Vance is also pro-Bitcoin. Yeah. Let's see here. Thanks so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Does IREN has chances to go lower? It could always go lower. Anything could still go lower. We just don't know. That's why I've always been a huge proponent of dollar cost averaging, because I just don't know where the bottom's going to be in at. Let's see. Andre says, Seb, as an FYI, there was a conversation on CORZ and how all the shares could still get to $20 per share for every share held. Something to do with the creditor's agreement. You mean 20 cents or is that $20? Of share for every share held. Something to do with creditor's agreement. Yeah. That I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. Let's see. Can we see your relative valuation sheet, please? Are you talking about the enterprise value to the miners hash rate? I think that's maybe what you're asking for. Let's see, where is it at? If we look at enterprise, where is it at? Enterprise, there is enterprise metrics. That's how it's looking right now on it as of today. Hut 8 looks like the most overvalued right now, and we got Hive still the most undervalued here currently. I mean, Hive is at 59 million, everybody else is at least 100 million plus. IREN has come down to 209. TeraWolf is up there to 241 million. Yeah, Hut 8 is looking really, really high. Cypher, same thing, 215. And then going forward into the future, you can still see that Hut 8 based on the future growth, 208, TeraWolf 211. Those are pretty high. Bit Digital as well. Cypher a little high there compared to some of the other growth companies that we have from Cleanspark, IREN, Bitfarms, Riot, and Marathon. Those guys are lower. I would expect that to rotate going into the bull run more so on those miners than on some of these miners over here. Okay, so I think that's what you were asking for on it. Let's see. Thoughts on Mawson and Stronghold? I'll be surprised if they survive. They might survive. I don't know how well they're going to grow, though. Mawson's mostly into hosting. SDIG, Stronghold is mostly, well, not mostly. I can't say that mostly, but they're looking to get possibly bought out. So we'll see on that one. What miners are you accumulating at the most right now? It's still Bitfarms if I could. I'm out of cash for the time being. I just had to pay insurance on the house that's due like this week. I got to pay that. And then just remodel of the kitchen is eating up a lot of my cash as well. Don't like that. But yeah, Bitfarms would be the one I'd be buying. Let's see here. At CME chart, about 57 to 6,000 large window. Do you think BTC can go down to price? Yeah, I talked about that before. I do think there is a slight possibility that that could happen. Not always do the CME futures gaps get filled. There is a high probability that they do, but not always. So we'll see if it comes back down to that range. If it does, it's a buying opportunity. Let's see, when Cleanspark breaks over and holds 21, the Fib 78, which was tough resistance earlier this year, next target is 41 near term per. Oh, very good. That would be nice. Let's see. Do you think Bitfarms can cross 5 USD by end of July? No. I don't think so. That'd be too, I mean, I shouldn't say no. Highly unlikely. Let's see. Okay. During the Republican convention in Milwaukee on July 15th, Trump met with several crypto companies. His campaign's wish list included a hands-off regulatory approach. Well, that would be great. Contrasting with the Biden administration crypto crackdown following the FTX collapse and other scandals. Yeah, I mean, some things you need to regulate, like the FTX things. That wasn't good for investors, right? That wasn't good for anybody. But they were operating out of, the Bahamas or something like that, which should be like a red flag there on its own. But yeah, so things like that. But I think they should stay out of Bitcoin miners and things like that. The Biden administration, I don't think they're doing themselves any favor there by going after those guys. Let's see here. I feel Cleanspark is a sell and buyback and support around 15 or so. It can't seem to break 21. In the long run, it doesn't really matter. I think in the long run, it's going to go up much higher. If you're day trading, then yeah, you want to play these kind of waves here. Let's see. Would you be adjusting your PE valuations at any point? PE 20 seemed to be on a lower spectrum. What about PE 20, 25? Yeah, so when we start getting to a bull run, maybe I'll increase those a little bit more. Because in the past, if you look at PE or PS, whatever you want to use there, the miners last bull run were like at 35, 40 towards the peak. So they could definitely go up much higher than that. So I agree with you there. I thought a few months ago you said Bitfarms has potential 3 to 4x. If Bitcoin goes 200,000, they get 21 exahash. Why now target 45? The target's still not 45. $45 is the current where I think they should be fairly valued right now. If we're looking out into the future, then we're looking at Bitcoin goes up to 100,000, so that's roughly 50% increase from where we are right now. At that point, I think if they were fairly valued at around $4 or $5, at 2 to 3x, so $10 to $15 is where we really should be at, because they're not being fairly valued right now as it is. What are you most concerned about Q2 earnings reports coming up? Do you think they're going to be positive or negative? I think for the most part, they're going to be negative, I think. Some of the miners have done a pretty good job growing their hash rate, which will negate some of the losses that they had from mining because they increased their hash rate. That increased their revenues as well. So we talked about that, what was it, on Sunday's video, I think? Sunday's or Saturday's video? Where we went over the Q1 numbers versus the estimated Q2 numbers for self-mining on it and what that actually looks like. So check out the video. That should help you out there. BTC reached 100K. How much do you expect the price of Riot? So again, that's roughly 50% increase from where we are right now. At that point, I would say 2 to 3x from where it is right now is probably where Riot would be. Let's see. IREN entry $10.24. 1024 exit 9150. I could go with that. I'd be happy with that. Hi Seb, how do you 2x or 3x for Bitfarms in your opinion? Is it $3 times 2 equals 6 and 3 by 3 equals 9, or 3 by 2 equals 6 and 6 by 2 equals 12 and 12 by 2 equals 24? Thanks. So if we're looking at, depends where Bitcoin goes, right? I think that's the main sticking point here. If Bitcoin goes only to 100,000 by the end of the year, that's 50% increase. The miners usually do a 3x on top of what Bitcoin does. So if Bitcoin goes a 2x, miners will usually do like a 6x. So that's kind of where we're looking at those numbers. I'm going a little bit more conservative. I'm going like a 4x. So Bitcoin does at least a 2x. The miners would do at least like a 4x at that point. So Bitfarms being at $2 and something, that would get them close to around $10. If they can also get rid of Riot off their back for the acquisition there, that might also help the stock go up even more. That's kind of where I'm looking at things right now. Let's see. HD Tech says, Bitfarms bags been packed. Let's effing go. Perfect. Let's see. What else do we have here? Bitfarms Tribunal, July 22nd and 23rd. If Riot wins, then they can get to 19.9 without poison pill. I think the October meeting is for removal of board members so that Riot can overtake in the future. Yes, that is the case. And we'll get to vote on that. So if you guys don't want the Riot to overtake, vote no, I guess, against Riot. Let's see. Brett says Mr. Gagnon is going to make it happen. I hope so. I think he's the right person in that job there. Do you think it's a good idea to convert some of my Cypher to Bitfarms? Would you convert? If I had Cypher, depending when I got into it, how much I was up, I'd maybe take like my cost basis out of it. I wouldn't maybe convert all of it, and then do that. I did that with Cleanspark. I converted basically my cost, what my cost was in there, put it into IREN, which worked out really well. So maybe look at it that way. Sadie, yes, thank you so much again. Likes help the channel. What are the chances of Bitfarms shares being diluted? Pretty good. Bitfarms wants to grow. They're going to be diluting shares through the ATM. I think I asked Ben Gagnon on Friday, what are the thoughts about possibly doing a reverse stock split? He said it was something that they had a conversation about in the past with the stock being under $1 because you have to have the stock at $1 plus on NASDAQ. But he said recently there has been no discussion on doing a reverse stock split or anything like that. Let's see. At what price of BTC Bitfarm can reach 25 USD? I think you're looking at probably north of 180,000 at that point. 200,000, 250,000, somewhere around there. That's kind of where I would see it. Let's see. I said with this week's run with the miners, especially Cleanspark, Riot, where do you see target price end of this year for these stocks? Again, it depends where Bitcoin goes. I would say Bitcoin goes at least to 2x from where it's at right now. We're looking at those miners going up on the low end, like 3-4x to maybe like 5-6x. Somewhere in that range is where I would see things. Can you verify if Riot has 15% right now? There are multiple sources saying Riot has about 64 million shares right now. That should be more than 15%. If so, can Riot withhold the news? I don't know if they can withhold the news, but I've been hearing the same thing. But I haven't seen anything concrete being provided by Riot or anything like that. Could it also be that Bitfarms has diluted shares? which increased the number of shares, which then allowed Riot to also increase their shares, was still being under the 15%. That could be also the case there. I'm not sure. All right. There's a couple ways to play it that way. Which are your top 3 miners that you are accumulating and that have the potential to triple your earnings? I think to triple your earnings, if you're just looking for a 3x, you can pretty much bet on any miner right now with the upcoming bull run. But the miners that I've been getting into, I still own Cleanspark, right? I haven't been buying that into it because I've bought in at such a low price. My average is like $3 something on Cleanspark. So I've been buying that one. I've continued to buy into Bitfarms. My average is like $1.60 on that one. So, or is it $1.60 or $1.40? I can't remember now, but it's pretty low. I'm like 100% on that one up. IREN, I'm also pretty close to 100%. It's like 80-some% up on that one. I've been buying that. CORZ, I'm up a little bit as well. But those are the ones I've been kind of getting into. But I think if you're looking for just a 3x, any of the top miners would be a good bet. Did you say you think Bitcoin will go to 200 by the end of the year? 200,000 by the end of the year. If it did, it'd be great. But I mean, I'm still thinking Bitcoin will probably reach around 180,000 by the end of the cycle. So the cycle meaning that maybe in the next 12 to 18 months, somewhere around there. I think if we could get there, I'd be happy. If we go beyond that, I'll be ecstatic. But that's kind of my target on Bitcoin right now. IREN or Cleanspark? Both. Man, if you're going to have both of those guys, I think you're going to do very well. I think right now they're both pretty fairly valued compared to each other. Just where they are in market cap and all that stuff. I think IREN may be a little bit higher priced for their current hash rate and future hash rate. And Cleanspark's a little bit lower than that, so maybe Cleanspark at that point. Let's see. Which do you like more or think is more undervalued? Okay, so that was, yeah. Can I answer that question right there? Let's see. Bitfarms doing a reverse split is good for a stock price? Not always, because sometimes investors see that as a company potentially diluting even more, right? You get a lower share price or higher price goes up, and you can dilute more. So if they have 400 million shares right now, let's say they do a 4-for-1 split. So that brings them down to about 100 million shares. That would double their stock price by 4. So that means that they're at $8. It makes it easier for them to dilute as well because, and that's why usually the stock goes down on a reverse stock split because then people think they're going to be diluting. Let's see. Sean asks, especially, are you from Canada? I am not. I'm from the United States, Illinois, actually. Let's see. I lost about $6,000 before from panic selling, only to hate myself afterwards. What is your biggest loss so far? What's my biggest loss so far? Well, on paper was back in 2022 when things were going down. I was buying into the miners. I was down 60-80% of some of the miners on, Cleanspark and Bitfarms actually. I was down quite a bit, and that was a loss of around like 30,000, 35,000 at that point. But it was on paper. I didn't sell. I continued buying into it. An actual physical loss was probably one of these penny stocks back probably 10 years ago or something like that. I think I put in like $10,000 into it. It's worth pennies now. Lost all the $10,000 at that point. So learn my lesson on penny stocks for sure. Sean says, I was down 150,000 in the dump in January. It's part of the game. Yeah, I mean, if you don't sell, you're not really down. If you just hold on to it, it's paper basically loss on paper. But yeah, if that's the case, I was down probably like in January. Was it down probably around $150,000 down also at that point. How many Bitcoins will Bitfarms produce at 21 exahash and 35 exahash? Not an easy question to answer right now. It depends where the network hash rate is at right now and the difficulty at that point. Then we can possibly figure it out. So if we think the network hash is going to go to 800 exahash or something like that, 900 exahash, there's going to be a big difference on what they can mine that way. Let's see. Thoughts on Soluna? It's been ripping lately. Yeah, and the new president there seems to be doing the right things, or the CEO there. I used to track Soluna before the bear market in 2022 when they stopped reporting their monthly updates. They were in pretty bad shape financially. Almost looked like they might be going out of business, but they were able to turn that around, and they are doing much better right now. The only thing is they're doing a lot of these partnerships with other companies or other partners, and when they build out the infrastructure, so it's always tricky to figure out what they're actually getting in revenue from that. But they seem to be doing much better here recently. Let's see, is there a miner you would consider investing in this week with a Bitcoin rally? Geez. I don't know. I still think Bitfarms is still undervalued way from where it should be. If I had the cash, I'd probably get into that one. A lot of miners have been kind of ripping up here a little bit. I don't know which one else I would get into at this point, to be honest. I think they're all pretty... we just kind of looked at the miners and what they are undervalued or overvalued right now. And Bitfarms and another one, and I think who else was there? That's kind of undervalued. I think BitDeer. Those two were undervalued compared to their peers, or at least where I think they should be right now. And so those are the ones I maybe look at. Let's see. What happens to BTC if Trump is not the president? That's it. But at that point, BTC is done with, sell everything you got. I'm kidding. That's not the case. Bitcoin has been through Republican candidate presidents, Democrat presidents. It's going to do its thing regardless who's there. And it's always done pretty well regardless. So I wouldn't worry about it. Let's see. Robbie says, Riot will own 19% of Bitfarms shares by October. Depending what the tribunal says at the end of this month here. Let's see. Okay. Sean says, I had to sell some Cleanspark today to cover tax on TEFSA. I accidentally overcontributed to last year. Oh, yeah. You got to be careful on that. What is the target exahash for IREN Q2? It is 20 exahash, and they're supposed to get to 30 exahash by the end of Q2. We're in Q2. Well, we just passed Q2. You're talking about Q3. Q3 is supposed to be 20 exahash. Q4 is supposed to be 30 exahash. Let's see. Asab, what is your favorite parts about Ben and the Bitfarms team? Thanks for all you do. Favorite parts? Parts of what? Bitfarms team. Well, Ben, for one, I think he's done a fantastic job. I think the CFO there is really good too. And then the recent board member that they got, Fannie Phillip, I think is fantastic. So, and that's kind of things that I would really see that are really good parts of it right now. And then maybe the board can fix its issues with Fannie being in place. We'll see. Especially target prices for Cleanspark, IREN, and Bitfarms at BTC peak respectively. So if we get to, let's say, 180,000 with Bitcoin, my price target for Cleanspark is $70. IREN is about $80, and that's only because you also have to take into account market cap at that point. So even for Cleanspark being at $70, it would still have a higher market cap than IREN by quite a bit at $80. Bitfarms, I'm guessing somewhere between $15 and $25. If we get more than that, I would be happy at that point as well. I'm really to miners. Do you look at other stocks in the space like BNXA or Coin? I owned Coin when they went public. I lost money on it because the stock went down afterwards because we were in the bear market. But I don't. I like the miners because I can track the data. I can see how they're doing. I can see how they're progressing. I can do metrics on them, comparing them to other miners. And I just like doing that. Yeah. Let's see. In June, 10.4 exahash, Bitfarms produced 189 Bitcoin. Could we double that number if Bitfarms doubled the exahash? So if they double the exahash, that would get us to, let's just say, round it up. So that would get us about to around 400 BTC, right? Now, if the network hash rate goes up another 50% from where it's at right now, that would get us to approximately like 900 exahash. So at that point, the 900 exahash how would that work out? 50% increase in network hash rate. That might lower it would that lower it by 50% at that point? Would they be still at 200 Bitcoin roughly? Or would it be like around 300 Bitcoin at that point? I'd have to run the math on it exactly, but I know it's going to decrease as the network hash rate increases as well. D says, Seb, first and foremost, you're doing an amazing job. I heard somewhere that JP Morgan has Riot 100x by 2025. If you've heard the same, please explain your thoughts on this and why. JP Morgan has about 100x in 2025. Jeez. What would that, I mean, you would need Bitcoin to go into like 500,000 at that point, I think, in order for them to get 100x. From here, 100x, that's, I mean, looking at, what is that going to be? Stock price of $1,000? I just don't see that happening, to be honest. A 10x, okay. A 10x, maybe I could see that. That would get him to about $100. I could see that. Especially what's your favorite movie? Oh, gosh. There's quite a few movies that I like. Independence Day, the original one, right, with, I'm trying to blank now, with the name actor from, gosh, you know what I'm talking about, Independence Day. And then there was also The Patriot with Mel Gibson. I thought that was a great movie about the independence of the United States and how it impacted families, farmers, and things like that. What other ones do I like? Let's see, The Matrix. Matrix I thought was great. The first one was great. What else? Like Terminator. Oh my gosh, Terminator was great too. There's a bunch of movies that I like. Can Mara reach 100 billion market cap? They're at 7 billion right now. And that would be, what, 13x from here? That would be tough. Really tough. I don't think it's possible for them this bull run, unless Bitcoin goes much higher than we expect. At that point, that could happen. But I'm guessing that Marathon could possibly get to, from where it's at right now, let's say it goes up another 5x. I'm looking at like 35, maybe 40 billion market cap. I would think that would be, that might be doable. Oh, The Big Short, maybe. That was a good one too. Yeah. Definitely. I've watched that one just here recently. When did I watch? Like a month ago. That's a good one too. Let's see. Bitfarms, Cleanspark, IREN, and CORZ. What other miners can I add? So you have Bitfarms, Cleanspark, and IREN, and CORZ. What other miners can I add? Okay. At this point, you're kind of looking for ones that may have good growth, but are struggling a little bit. So like Marathon and Riot. They've been struggling with operations, but Marathon's fixing their operations. Riot is supposed to be fixing theirs as well. I'll look at those as well. Who else? Cypher's got more growth in 2025. Same thing with Wolf. BitDeer, same thing there. BitDigital is not being really valued so much on their Bitcoin mining nor on their HPC AI. I think maybe that's because they don't own the infrastructure there. Who else do we have here? Hive, I think, is undervalued right now compared to its peers as well. So yeah, there's quite a few you can possibly get into. Seb, what is your view on investing in MicroStrategy? They are related to BTC and they will have a 10-to-1 split in August. Yeah, they're going to be diluting more to buy more Bitcoin, it looks like. Historically, MicroStrategy has, if Bitcoin goes up 2x, they usually do like a 4x, right? They usually do a 2x better than Bitcoin does. Historically, sometimes it can outrun a little bit Bitcoin, but then it usually pulls back down and you get that roughly 100% difference between the two in performance. So I think you can get into it, but I think the miners still have better upside potentially than MicroStrategy. Excuse me. Let's see. What else do we have here? Price target for Wolf. What time frame are we looking at? Are we looking at by the end of the year? By the end of the year, a couple more bucks from where it's at right now, I guess. Maybe double. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, we could see a double on that one. I think it still needs a little bit of pullback down, though. So we could possibly see around $10, $12, I guess. Are you still bullish on IREN? Yeah, I'm still bullish on IREN. I'm still holding the shares. I was hoping it would come down to like around $10. At that point, I'm still out of cash. I don't know what I would have been able to do. I would have scrounged some cash up to buy a little bit more of them as well. See, I have 10,000. How would you split these into 2 miners? Dollar cost average into it. I think Bitfarms is still undervalued. Get into IREN. Get into Cleanspark. Sorry. What other ones can you get into? Bitfarms. Talked about Bitfarms already. Riot, Marathon, CORZ as well. I think if you get into any of those guys here, you could still get at least a 5x on these for the most part. Some might do a little bit better. Let's see. Sean, I have 47,000 shares of Bitfarms trading. You got me beat by double there. Congrats to you, my friend. Let's see. Andrea says, Chow, they will be added to the S&P 500 at some point because they are now in the top 300. Who's that? Let's see, Chow. Oh, you're talking about MicroStrategy. Okay. I was like, I didn't get the Chow name there. Let's see. I'm trying to find some other questions here. Okay. From your past experience running a Bitcoin miner for 5 years, what was the biggest issue with producing Bitcoin and how did you handle it? There's not much you can do about it. You try to operate when it's profitable. When it's not profitable, you shut down. I mean, that's the only thing you can really do at that point. Especially if you're not backed by deep pockets, which we were not. We had only the amount that we had to put into it, and then it was basically simmer sink at that point. So there were times that we were shut down with Bitcoin mining for 6 months to even a year because this was not profitable at that point. So yeah. Let's see. Sem says, hi Seb, love song by Lee Greenwood. God bless the U.S. Thank you for doing a great job. I appreciate it. Thank you. God bless the U.S. What else do we have here? Okay. Do you think the next halving event, it will also have an early bull run? What if we don't have another bear market and a bull run? What if this continues to be just a continuous bull run? Maybe a slower one, right? So it might take us, until end of 2025 to get to maybe 150,000, right? Potentially. And then in 2026, we could get to like 180,000, 200,000, something like that. What we do then? What happens then? Right? I just don't know. Any small miners to add? I mean, if you have the cash and you're willing to gamble a little bit, I think you can buy some of the smaller miners as well. I would stay away from, even though they can do really well, but my concerns are for Sphere, Argo, Mawson as well, were my 3 ones that I had concerns with them being able to survive. I'm trying to think, there's another. Stronghold's another one. Let's see. Is Cleanspark or Mara better in the next month? According to charts and your data. Thanks for the cool hand look country. Let's see. Is Cleanspark or Mara better in the next month? As far as how? Price? Operations? I just don't know on that one. Marathon has been improving their operations. I think Marathon will mine more Bitcoin than Cleanspark still. But price-wise, I don't know. Hi, Seb. Is Riot undervalued when comparing miners like Hut, IREN, and small miners pumped without fundamentals or HODL? Yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, yeah. The big thing for Riot is just to fix their operations, get much better uptime at the facilities that they do have. If they do that, I think the stock will do much better. Let's see. There it is. Hi Seb, where do you see conservative price of BTC by end of 2021? I think we're going to get close to 100,000. I think that's kind of where I'm trajecting right now, at least close to 100,000. We might be a little bit above it, might be a little bit below it, but somewhere around there. I would give it within maybe 10,000 plus or minus, somewhere around there, I think. Ben says, I think I saw guitar in the background months back. If BTC goes to 100,000, can you play us a song and celebrate? I think we will be in a celebratory mood. Yeah, I can play you guys some riffs. It has been a while since I played guitar. Don't have the time like I used to when I was younger. I played a lot more when I was in high school and after high school, but not so much anymore. I still love the look of the guitars. I still love the way it sounds. I still every once in a while we'll just pick up and jam for like just a couple minutes and then go back to work. Let's see. What are some of the ways Bitfarms can fight off Riot takeover should the vote not go in Bitfarms' way? Well, they have the poison pill basically is the really only way that they can fight it right now. That or them doing a really good job of growing, having the stock price go up in really good amount. That could help as well. But those are the kind of ways you can fight it off. And then we could also have the shareholders vote against Riot in the special meeting that they're going to have in October for trying to appoint their own independent board members. So there's one way to do that as well. Let's see. Which one will go up more? Cleanspark or tomorrow? I have no idea. That's anybody's guess at that point. I think they'll both go up. Just which one will do better? I'm not sure. Short term is hard. Longer term, I can kind of see where things are going to go, I think. But short term, it's so volatile and things get changed out and you get rotation out of the miners. It's tough to figure out which one's going to do really well. Let's see. So MicroStrategy is doing a forward stock split and not a reverse. Wow. 10 to 1. Okay. Why would they do that? Let's see. Are you including HPCI with Bitfarms price prediction? No, it's just all straight Bitcoin mining. The All-Father Son says, please hit the like button. The insight from Seb is worth at least that. I would agree, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. If it goes to 100,000, there will be a lot of parties. Yeah, that would be great. Let's see. News of Saudi Arabia getting into Bitcoin mining by the end of 2024. How will this kind of news new affect mining stocks we have? Depending how much they're getting into it, right? How much hash rate are they going to be contributing on that? Do you think we're going to have a big pullback in the coming days? Bitcoin does go test to 58,000 or something like that. On the miners, will we have a pullback? Well, yeah, Bitcoin goes down. We might see it, but we also saw Bitcoin going down. The miners were going up. Right now, we're getting into this kind of crazy time frame, I think, before the next leg up, going up to like 80,000, 90,000. What are some of the downsides you see to BitDeer? Could it potentially be very undervalued and the seal miners perform well in Q3? It could be, yeah. I mean, that's the big question there. How will the seal miners perform? There are different variants that are coming out quarter after quarter. How well can they build out in 2025 as well? Can they get HPCI customers in there as well? All that stuff will definitely attribute to much better growth for them potentially. Let's see. There is another wave to fight Riot, but Riot probably won't care. Bitfarm can get incredible expensive severance package for the C-suite level people. So if Riot acquires and fires them, Riot will pay. Well, there's another thought in that. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming in. I appreciate you guys. We're going on for what now? Almost, how long have we been going on? Gosh, hour something right now. So we'll call it a day. I think I've caught up to all you guys' questions here. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll run over some other metrics and things like that that we normally do on the miners anyways. We'll see what we have left to cover on that. And we're already halfway through the month already. It's crazy. Time's flying by. But yeah, so we'll call it a day here. Again, thanks so much for coming in. We'll talk about whatever we have to talk about tomorrow. We'll see if there's any news. We'll see where Bitcoin goes. We'll see where miners go as well. And we'll go from there. Okay, so have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay healthy, be well, and see you next one.